Hi there, my name is Chef Bill Briwa, and I'm an instructor here at the Culinary Institute of America. I'm glad you've joined me today because I've got some really terrific products that I'd love to share with you. The first is a Prosciutto di Parma that I have right here. Now, across your career, you may have used a lot of prosciuttos, but you may not have realized that true Prosciutto di Parma comes from the area in Italy of Parma, that it's a natural product that uses traditional methods, and when they cure this ham, the only thing they add to it is sea salt. By the time Prosciutto di Parma is ready to be exported to the United States, it's been aged for a minimum of 400 days. And it gets inspected, and if it passes the inspection, it is identified as a Prosciutto di Parma. Now, if you look here, you can see the beautiful fat and the meat, but if I turn it over, what you will notice is a little brand right here. It's the Parma crown that identifies this as the real deal. Now, I've trimmed this a little bit. I cut off the skin, and I cut off any discolored fat, and at this point, I'm ready to work with this ham. If I move this aside, what I've got planned for it might surprise you. I'm going to make this dish right here, which is actually an Asian-inspired dish. I've got a little roulade of Prosciutto di Parma, and inside I've wrapped Daikon, Asian pear, and a little bit of carrot, as well as some Daikon sprouts, and I'm serving it with a sauce that is an aioli, but a wasabi aioli. So let's get started. Here is some mayonnaise, and what I'm going to add to this mayonnaise is a little bit of Dijon mustard. I'm going to add some wasabi as well. I'm going to season it with a little bit of soy. And then lemon juice or yuzu, if you can get it. Yuzu is really delicious. I'm going to add that to the mix. And I'll stir that together. And inasmuch as I've called this an aioli, it should have some garlic in there. And so I've got a couple of cloves of garlic that I've blanched. What I want to do is take some of the harshness out of that garlic. So just put it into boiling salted water and let it simmer until it's soft. Let's say 4 minutes. And then take it out, rinse it, drain it, and off you go. For me, this is still a little bit too coarse. So just a quick little trick. I'm going to add some salt to act as an abrasive, and then I'm going to use the edge of my knife just to make sure that this is turned into a really fine puree. I don't think anybody wants to get a really big mouthful of garlic. And by blanching it and by pureeing it like this, I think we get exactly what we're looking for. All right, I'm going to gather this up. I'm going to put some right in the bowl. So this sauce is basically done. I'm going to stir it all together. You can, at this point, decide for yourself what texture you think the sauce should have. If we introduce a lot of liquid, it will be a pourable sauce. If we introduce a smaller amount of liquid, it may even hold its shape, but I want it to be sort of gently yielding. It just comes off the spoon. I have here some Prosciutto di Parma that I've sliced. I would encourage you not to slice it way in advance. This is such a delicious product that you don't want to let it sit around or dry out or oxidize. So I've got a slicer right over here, and as I need it, I run it off in the slicer. I've got beautiful slices. Don't trim all the fat off because the fat is absolutely delicious. And I'm taking each of these slices and just sort of rolling them over on themselves so that they're half as thick. I always slice this. My admonition to whoever is slicing it for me, get it as thin as you can without it falling apart. That's sort of my goal. And certainly any discolored fat or skin, trim off ahead, but the fat is delicious. So once you've trimmed back to nice white fat, then leave it be. Okay, So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a slice of prosciutto, and I'm going to lay it right in front of me like this. And I'm going to stuff it with Asian pear. If you're not familiar with Asian pear, that's what it looks like right here. I'm going to stuff it with carrot julienne and daikon radish. And then finally I've got some radish sprouts, daikon radish sprouts. So I'll just take these things and lay them on. You know, it's half a dozen pieces of each, something like that. The fruit is a really nice addition because what it gives you is a little bit of sweetness and juiciness. And then finally, a little bit of these daikon sprouts, and lay them on so that they kind of stick out the top. That's kind of what I want. All right? And then take the prosciutto and wrap it up and over all of those items. I'll set that aside for another use. I'll take this and just trim the bottom flat. And I have sort of a little flower pot, if you will, a prosciutto flower pot. I'm going to do it a couple of times so you get a chance to see it. Now, as I do these, I'm making a point of putting the fat to the top, not to the bottom, because I don't want to cut that off. I don't want to discard it. That fat is absolutely delicious and sweet, and I want it to stay part of this dish. The wasabi aioli will help cut through any richness, but it's delicious in its own right, and I wouldn't avoid fat at any cost. All right. Here we are. So to finish this dish, I'm going to smooth this sauce out. And we'll just put some right on the platter. And then I want to lay these things right down the middle so that when you pick it up, it comes with its own little portion of sauce. If you like the idea, sometimes what I will do is just take some of these vegetables and cut them into very, very fine dice. Gather them up and then just a little sprinkle up and down. I think makes a nice sort of whimsical garnish that helps tell the story about what's inside. There's a dish made with Prosciutto di Parma, the real deal from north central Italy. It's wrapped around an Asian filling and a distinctly Asian sauce that goes with it. And when you try it, I think you'll agree this is a delicious use for Prosciutto di Parma.